Hello, today I'm going to be discussing my TBR for the Maybe Midrash Readathon, which is hosted by Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse. I hadn't planned to do any readathons in May, but I decided to participate in this one because I absolutely love world religions. I've been avidly studying them since the age of 14. If you're interested, Midrash, spelled with a capital M, refers to a compilation written between about 400 and 1200 of the Common Era. It's rabbinic exegesis of the Torah, the Tanakh, which we Jews call the Bible, and the oral Torah, the Torah Shebal Peh, which was later codified into the Mishnah and the Gemara and some parts of the Talmud and like various other like codes of law written over the centuries. And when it's not spelt with a capital M, it just refers more generally to like an interpretation or like reinterpretation, like reading between the lines, etc. of anything. It doesn't have to be religious in nature. Like, for example, I've referred in several videos to Hermann Hesse's Midrash about the Mark of Cain and his absolutely brilliant novel Damien, and the prompts are to watch a film about religion, to read a novel featuring religion heavily, and to read a nonfiction work of religion. And I got some books out of the library for this yesterday, as well as one which I'm already currently reading. And so here, let's get down with it. This is my name is Asher Lev by Chaim Potok. In a previous video about a month ago, I mentioned Mr. Potok's book, the Chosen, which is like an absolutely wonderful book about a friendship between two young boys. They're both from the Orthodox world, but they're from different extremes of it, and it's like a wonderful book. He's a pretty good writer, and I did read the sequel to this, The Gift of Asher Lev, when I was in my junior year of high school. It's some set 20 years after this book ends. So basically this is about like a young man who wants to be an artist, but it's like very difficult because he's living in a religious community, and this is the synopsis. Asher Lev is a Ladover Hasid who keeps kosher, prays 3 times a day, and believes in the Rabbona Shel Olam, the master of the universe. Asher Lev is an artist who is compulsively driven to render the world he sees and feels, even when it leads him to blasphemy. In this stirring and often visionary novel, Chaim Potok traces Asher's passage between these two identities, the one consecrated to God, the other subject only to the imagination. Asher Lev grows up in a cloistered Hasidic community in post-war Brooklyn, a world suffused by ritual and revolving around a charismatic Rebbe. But in time, his gift threatens to estrange him from that world and the parents he adores. As it follows his struggle, My Name is Asher Lev becomes a luminous portrait of the artist, by turns heartbreaking and exultant, a modern classic. And this, I actually have a blog post about this. I was planning to turn this into a video soon, but it's good to rewatch it. Anyway, this is the original version of King of Kings, directed by Cecil B. DeMille from 1927. There's both the theatrical cut and the much longer director's cut, and they left a lot of really interesting and moving things out of the general release. It's still pretty long, but the director's cut is, I think, 2.5 hours, maybe close to 3 hours, and it's obviously, I'm not Christian myself, but this is a really nice film. It takes an original angle with a story when you're doing something that's been told so many times and so familiar. You just obviously you're not going to change what actually happens in the source material, but you're just going to draw out certain specific things to make it really stand out. And there's some absolutely lovely, wonderful things in this. For example, one of my favorite scenes is when a little girl asks Jesus to heal her doll's broken legs. That's just such a believable thing a little kid would do. And there's so many other absolutely wonderful, moving things, which I will discuss in the video about this. And this is the Upanishads, one of the holy books of Hinduism, which I, believe it or not, haven't read before, even though I've said multiple times Hinduism is the religion I feel closest to after my own. And several months ago, in December, I believe, I did a video about Devi Vanamali's novel, The Play of God, which is about the life of Krishna and the years leading up to his birth. It's absolutely a wonderful, wonderful book. I would say it's one of my top 10 favorite books I've ever read. It's just so wonderful and moving, and that really reawakened my interest in Hinduism. And so this is a guide to the Upanishads. It's basically, a commentary and notes about it, so it's less difficult to comprehend if you're just reading it on your own, because a lot of people make the mistake, I'm just going to read the Quran or the Torah or the Talmud or whatever, just, reading it straight through like they would read any novel or regular nonfiction book, and they miss so much because they're not, studying it with at least one partner, or just reading notes and stuff about it to help them understand the material better, because that leads to a lot of frustration. You can't always understand a religious text the way it's supposed to be when you're just reading it blind and not doing any outside study or anything like that. So this should be really interesting. Maybe I'll add it to my collection someday. And I do have in storage 900 miles away a number of Buddhist books, different Buddhist scriptures and Buddhist, just general books, and including a really fun one on what would Buddha do, answering a number of questions, like from the perspective of Buddha, like, for example, what would Buddha do about a friend who is using drugs, or what would Buddha do about depression, just like really like wonderful, interesting things like that. And this is like something that looked interesting in the religious section, what I wish my Christian friends knew about Judaism. And this is obviously not intended for me because I'm not Christian myself, but I do wish many Gentiles realize things. Like, I mean, I know many people aren't trying to be ignorant, for example, like they just genuinely don't know, but I just wish people knew, for example, we use like completely different vocabularies. Like, for example, Jews do not use the terms Old and New Testament, and we don't date years and BC and AD, and we also rarely use the term Judeo-Christian, and just a number of other like terminology things that people just don't know are different between us, and they don't know about our beliefs or our history, or just a lot of things like that. And it's very similar to the book How to Be a Perfect Stranger, which talks about how to comport yourself and just what to expect when you're going to various different houses of worship and different religions and denominations like that, and different kinds of like ceremonies and stuff they would have. So anyway, this is a book I would recommend to a lot of people if you're genuinely curious and just want to learn more, because unfortunately there's a lot of misinformation out there. I'm not saying like deliberate ignorance, of course not, but just like people just genuinely don't know because they have no reason to know about these things. And this looked fun. It was in the Hindu section in the library, just fun stories about like Hindu deities and religion. I absolutely love Hinduism. I've mentioned many times in many previous videos, and there's some little pictures throughout it as well. I really should get to reading more books about Hinduism, because I haven't really read any in a long time, even though I do enjoy studying about it and watching things. And these are novels by Naomi Ragen. I've read a number of her previous books. She's pretty good. She lives in Jerusalem right now, and she predominantly, I believe, or entirely writes about Orthodox women, like usually in the Haredi, the so-called ultra-Orthodox world, and they're very devoted to Judaism and obeying the mitzvot and such like that. They don't want to leave Orthodoxy usually, but they just want a different way, like, for example, to be maybe like more modern Orthodox, or just not so strict, or just to have more like choices in their lives, or they're punished for like going against the grain, just like really like interesting, like compelling things like that. And obviously this is called The Ghost of Hannah Mendes, and this is a synopsis. When Catherine da Costa, a wealthy Manhattan matron, learns she has only a short time to live, she realizes the family tree will die unless she transfers its legacy to her granddaughters. But Suzanne and Francesca, beautiful young women in their 20s, caught up in trendy causes and ambitious careers, have no interest either in her or in the past. Catherine almost despairs until, falling asleep before her fireplace, she is visited by the family matriarch, an indomitable Renaissance businesswoman named Hannah Mendes, a true historical figure, who offers her a partnership. Encouraging Catherine to use every trick in the book, bribery, guilt, and the threat of disinheritance, to coerce her granddaughters to put their lives in New York City on hold, to journey across Europe. The Ghost of Hannah Mendes promises to do her share to reacquaint the young women with their roots through the pages of an ancient manuscript, her own handwritten memoir. While Suzanne and Francesca are honoring their grandmother's request out of a sense of loyalty, they believe their quest is futile until manuscript pages begin to turn up all over Europe, along with two mysterious, attractive men. As the women read the pages of the memoir, their lives mysteriously begin to parallel that of their ghostly ancestress, until, in a final shocking encounter, the boundaries between past and present, spirit and flesh, blur with profound consequences that will change their lives forever. And the dying wishes of Catherine da Costa are fulfilled in ways that none of her family, not even Hannah Mendes, believed possible. And I would recommend Ms. Ragen's books. They're very good. Like, many of them are historical, but some of them are more contemporary settings. And this is another one by her, The Saturday Wife, which I've heard many things about. Delilah Levi is a social climber who spent her adolescence dreaming of turning her blonde good looks into a brilliant match, as did her mother. But when fate intervenes in the form of a sincere, but not overly bright, rabbinical student, she decides disastrously to become the rabbi's wife. Her husband is posted to an affluent suburban, modern Orthodox synagogue, and Delilah befriends the fabulously wealthy Joy Shamanov, who introduces her to a world of material excess that rivals her wildest daydreams. When the demands of a hypocritical board and unbearable congregants finally push her over the edge, the consequences set in motion a social tornado that sweeps everything in its path. Like all good satire, Saturday Wife mixes wicked entertainment with the sad ache of truth, the knowingness only Naomi Ragen can bring to this world. And so hopefully I can get through at least several of these books. Oh, and for this video, I wore my Shabbat 360 t-shirt. That was an event at Albany in December of 2015. Every time I wear this shirt, I remember I got strep throat from that event. Like, we really did have 360 people there, and obviously the timing matched up with when I got sick. That was the first time in about 25 years I had strep throat, so that really wasn't fun at all. And so thank you very much for listening, and please, I'm liking, I'm sharing, I'm subscribing and commenting. I do love to see comments from people, and like just to learn and to get more virtual friendships with the people who are watching my videos. So see you very soon. Thanks. Bye.